Hi, my name is Marilyn White.
And my name is Omar Rodriguez.
And my name is Fatma Al-Talib. This is our analysis for Coca-Cola Consolidated. I'm going to talk about the current strategy and concerns. My partners will give a analysis and discuss financials before revealing our group recommendation for rebranding the Coke Consolidated brand. Coca-Cola current strategies include business-level strategies and corporate-level strategies. Its business-level strategies are primarily branding and diversification, but I will touch on its global and social media marketing initiatives as well. Branding strategies. The brand development strategy of Coca-Cola stresses on the following. There are three important elements that make up its brand strategy. The first one is price value, keeping the price competitive in light economic condition, but also a price that matches the brand quality and keeping the price at an acceptable level that consumers are willing to pay. The second one is preference. Coca-Cola has a unique product. This is why it's trademarked it. Coca-Cola has successfully marketed this product to its consumers and created a brand preference due to its distinguishing product. The last one is pervasive penetration. Coca-Cola has created specific strategies and domestically and globally to attract a larger consumer base and increase its market share. In US, Coca-Cola's marketing is often focused on particular cultures and beliefs, whereas abroad, Coca-Cola has modified its recipe slightly to accommodate in the different tastes and preferences within the target market abroad. Name recognition. Coca-Cola logo font strategy in 1923, where the corporation logo was normalized, Coca-Cola decided that, like the recipe, the logo must remain untouched. The iconic red and white contoured Coca-Cola bottle, it's much a part of the name as the name itself. The second strategy is diversification strategy. This diversification strategy refers to seeking a familiar product or market to develop and exploit Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola uses this strategy explore new drink categories continuously, and it's keeping the tradition of expanding on their current portfolio of brand and products. Coca-Cola has more than 3,000 products in over 200 countries of the beverages brand, with the core focus on brands of Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, Coke Zero, Sprite, and Fanta. Global strategy. Globalization is the key concern of Coca-Cola. The company has a total control in cost pressure, so the cost pressure is low. Therefore, Coca-Cola can operate under the multi-domestic strategy. Coca-Cola uses Strategy Alliance to carry out its global strategy. The distribution of Coca-Cola has reached all around the globe. It has a huge and wide customer base. Therefore, Coca-Cola highly focuses on enabling their customers to reach their products more regularly. Thus, all partners of Coca-Cola work closely with customers, grocery stores, restaurants, street vendors, convenience stores, movie theaters, and amusement parks, among many others, to execute localized strategy developed in partnership with Coca-Cola. Social media strategy. Considering that social media has become the greatest tool for marketing, of course, Coca-Cola has taken the advantage and creating its social profiles on reputable media like Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Pinterest, and let's see how they manage each of them. Corporate level strategy. On corporate level strategy, Coca-Cola Consolidated utilizes merger acquisition strategy. Through the strategy, Consolidated is able to increase its market share and develop new capabilities to grow its business. The specific acquisition strategy that Consolidated has utilized in the past few years is buying back territories throughout the Southern Atlantic region. Considered reasons for implementing this strategy increase market share. Coca-Cola Consolidated has to do this because of the nature of the business. Without acquiring territories, Consolidated would be in violation of its agreements by selling in a different territory. Consolidating is also able to learn and developing new capabilities from the new territories that 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 it acquires, thereby strengthen its core competencies. Strategic concerns. What concerns do these strategies raise? Coca-Cola faces several significant strategies issue with its branding and diversification strategy. The biggest impact on sales currently is the current health and wellness trend across the beverage industry and lack of innovation and food safety compliance. Coca-Cola already has a wide range of juice brands and waters that could be winners for the company, but they must continue to develop and innovate with new health and wellness angles within its trend. A key growth areas could be function and energy drinks, even if it's low calories colas. The colas that have always targeted diet conscious individuals are performing poorly, while the Coca-Cola company has already developed low and zero calories drinks that are top ranked brand in their respective categories. The overall categories in anemic in the US, reflecting concerns over alternative sweeteners. Overall, Coca-Cola must rebrand itself to reflect a new healthy image among customers and the changing population. The strategic concerns with the merger and acquisition, at some point the cost of the mergers and acquisitions will outweigh the benefits financially.
According to the annual review report, 2016 was a challenging year for the carbonated soft drinks market in the U.S. Reports show that it has declined for 9 straight years, largely due to a decline in soda sales. They have seen total sales and volume of sugary sodas consumed decline for 11 consecutive years. Consumers worries that they're overusing the high-quality sugars. With carbonated drinks losing market share to non-carbonated drinks, especially bottled mineral water, Coca-Cola is seeking to remake its portfolio new under CEO James Quincy. A strategic emphasis being placed on what American consumers are drinking, such as bottled water or very small mini soda cans. We will now identify the major drivers of change behind the Coca-Cola's external and internal environment, looking at the general trends driving the soft drinks industry in general, and this will help us understand how the Coca-Cola company can utilize its brand competencies to take advantage of macro and microenvironment opportunities, while at the same time neutralizing emerging threats that are chipping away at its success. Now, to touch on all these factors that build that external environment, politically, some governments, like the Chinese government, have regulations that every company must fulfill when producing its products. Therefore, before beginning the supply its products in China, Coca-Cola ensures that it has met the required standards to avoid political conflicts. Then again, before Coca-Cola enters a new market, it has to consider the religious beliefs of people. For instance, when Coca-Cola began distributing to Malaysia, they had to incorporate a Muslim symbol known as the halal stamp to their products in order to be able to sell them. Other political factors that could affect Coca-Cola would be changes in laws and regulations or political regulations in internal markets. Now, economically, the price at which Coca-Cola sells its products is influenced by the economic state of the country. For instance, when inflation hit China, Coca-Cola had to reduce the price of its products. And another good example would definitely be the 2001 recession in America that definitely affected the Coca-Cola sales as well. Socially, we all know consumers tend to change their lifestyle in this world. Consumers are more aware of health issues and therefore have reduced drinking carbonated beverages to avoid diabetes or other diseases. Therefore, Coca-Cola's demand for carbonated beverages has reduced and the incomes have also decreased. To cope with this social demand of non-carbonated products, Coca-Cola produces products like juices, Minute Maid, or any sports drinks, Powerade, Gatorade, etc. And then some technology factors would definitely be Coca-Cola uses modern technologies for production and marketing of its products. It mostly relies on the internet and social media for advertising and selling of its products. The marketing director noted that technology is one of the main factors as to why their sales were so high in 2012. Now, to get into the legal environment, Coca-Cola is currently the subject of a lawsuit filed in California District Court by a nonprofit group called the Praxis Project. The lawsuit alleges that Coca-Cola deliberately deceives consumers, misleading them about the health risk of drinking sugary drinks and sodas. The lawsuit, which also includes the American Beverage Association, as defendants aims to prove that Coca-Cola has been violating the fair advertising law in its marketing and wants defendants to face marketing restrictions to those faced by tobacco companies. If successful, the lawsuit could shake the entire soft drinks industry. It may force Coca-Cola to advertise public health warnings. For example, consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages can lead to type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and obesity. With the lawsuit, it will definitely have forced them to add those warnings to their packages. And now to get into the environmental factors, the transition to a low carbon and resource efficient future is underway, affecting almost every sector of the global economy. However, the world's biggest drinks with the biggest environmental issue it continues to grapple are the local environment considered, especially the impact of waste from all of its plastic bottles and aluminum cans. The Coca-Cola Company produces more than 100 billion plastic bottles annually, much of it ending in the world's ocean rather than in plastic recycling systems. This company recognizes the current trends in consumers and governments demand in business to increase waste recycling. And the company also committed to raising the amount of recycled plastic it uses in bottles from 40 to 50% by year 2020. And due to a lot of criticism that they're getting from all these recycling, I guess you could call clubs and stuff like that, they are calling for all plastic bottles to be made of 100% recycled plastic, in addition to the introduction of an industry-wide deposit return scheme so that fewer plastic bottles end up outside the plastic recycling systems. And now we're going to get into the internal environment, which will involve the SWOT analysis, which we'll be discussing the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the company. Some strengths that the company has is definitely its most recognized brand in the globe. It has biggest shares in the beverage market, over 45%. It has the unsurpassed advertising strategies, for instance, sponsoring of World Cup games, the English Premier Leagues, etc. And, Coca-Cola definitely has the loyal customers. Some weaknesses to discuss would definitely be that the company focuses on production of carbonated drinks, which are likely to be ignored by consumers due to health issues. And Coca-Cola is not diversified. It focuses on production of beverage products only, rather than Pepsi-Cola has food and etc. Some opportunities for Coca-Cola would definitely increase in demand of beverages in the U.S. and demand of Coca-Cola beverages in developing countries. A threat would definitely be reduction of consumption of carbonated drinks, water scarcity in the near future, and competition from other emerging companies that don't solely focus on just carbonated drinks. Fun fact to add on to that is that Coca-Cola definitely lost NBA sports sponsorship deal with their rival Pepsi-Cola. And now Marilyn will follow up with you guys with a financial analysis.
So where does Coke Consolidated stand financially? As of today, Coke shares are trading around $200 a share. PepsiCo, the parent company of Coca-Cola's consolidated competitor, Pepsi Beverage Company, trades at about $114 a share. This is slightly misleading, as Pepsi Beverage Company operates as a subsidiary of PepsiCo, and it's not its own independent bottling company as Coca-Cola Consolidated is. But to put into perspective, when Pepsi Bottling Group, the predecessor to the Pepsi Bev Company, was acquired in 2009 by its parent PepsiCo, PepsiCo paid about $24 a share for its stock. At this time, Coca-Cola Consolidated was trading at about $50 a share, a big fall from the $200 it currently trades at today. So where does this huge stock increase flow from? Well, as Fatma explained earlier, Coke's merger acquisition strategy has increased its market share, and it definitely makes the financial statements look promising. Revenues have doubled, but so has cost of sales and gross profit proportional to net sales. This is ideally a result of its territorial expansions and acquisitions. By implementing the territorial acquisitions into its current corporate level strategy, Coke Consolidated has added value to its stock. And as a result, the stock price has increased incrementally over the past 4 years to its current trading price that it is now. But note, 86% of issue stock is owned by the Harrison family and 5% by the Coca-Cola Company. So that just leaves 9% for investors, corporate holders, and common folks such as myself, Fatma, and Omar. In spite of the concentration of its stock being held by the family of Coke's founder and Coca-Cola, in any potential loss of influence over corporate matters, Coke is still performing well in the stock market. Which leads to a discussion of Coke Consolidated's financial health. While stock can presumably be a good indicator of a company's financial health, it's a very generic at best and often can be a misleading criteria for a company's true performance. In Coke Consolidated's case, it's fair to say it's only slightly misleading. Considering that Coke has preferred stock and 3 classes of common stock authorized, including its general common stock, less than 20% of its authorized shares are issued. Despite its current debt obligations, Coke does not feel the need to raise capital through the issue of shares. So where is Coke's financial health? An overall look at the changes in its financial statements over the course of the past 3 years is reflective of its current company-wide strategy of expanding through territorial and business acquisitions. There have been increases to its balance sheet categories and assets and liabilities proportional to its increase in operational items such as net sales and cost of sales. While the assets and liabilities of the company have changed in the past 3 to 5 years, the equity composition has not and has only seen nominal increases in Class B stock due to the small issuance of this stock each year. Retained earnings has increased as Coke Consolidated has had net income in the past 5 years. How leveraged is Coke Consolidated? What is its true debt load? Equity composition hasn't changed much. It means that Coke's debts are in the form of liabilities and outweigh its equity. Its debt-to-equity ratio, currently Coke carries a high debt-to-equity ratio with debt as of the beginning of 2017 at $2 billion and equity less than $1 million. And it was carrying a ratio of 5.75 at the beginning of the year, and based on recent financial reports in the third quarter, it has risen to 6.6. This indicates that Coke has acquired more debt relative to issuing equity. Its current ratio, which is Coke's ability to meet its current financial liabilities, was 1.3 in the beginning of the year, and it has currently risen in the third quarter to 1.6. The 1.3 is based on its beginning of the year current assets and liabilities of $593 million and $416 million respectively, which later changed in the third quarter of the year to $955 million and $600 million respectively. The change in Coke's beta ratio can be attributed to an increase in assets to almost $1 billion. This growth in assets, based on Coke's recent 10Q filing with the SEC, is related to a drastic increase in accounts receivable for trade, inventory, and prepaid expenses. Coke has also listed assets for sale, potentially as a part of its merger acquisition moves that it didn't have for sale a year ago, thus increasing its current assets. Reducing inventories from the current liability, Coke was left with a quick ratio just under 1 at the beginning of the year, but since that ratio has moved up to 1.3, showing that Coke is in a much better position to pay its short-term debts than at the beginning of the year. Return on equity is 10.8%. However, cash and cash equivalent has decreased every year, making Coke more volatile in its ability to repay its debts. Long-term goals, business-wise, I believe the most relevant, other than cutting costs, is attempting to decrease its debts. Spetman mentioned earlier, the territorial acquisition can have detrimental result if Coke Consolidated doesn't realize at which point it should withdraw from this strategy. At some point, the cost of expanding will outweigh its benefits, and Coke Consolidated will be highly leveraged. So what is our recommendation? We think that Coke Consolidated should let Coke sell itself. That maybe it should implement more of a hands-off strategy in which Coke Consolidated place less marketing emphasis on the flagship brand itself and focus more on the other non-carbonated still beverages that Coke offers to sell. Not to say that you should not advertise Coke, but that you should put a greater emphasis on the market for non-carbonated beverages and still beverages. Because only 9% of its outstanding stock is owned by the general public, Coke has some flexibility in making riskier business decisions. Moreover, if this was implemented, at least on a domestic level, majority of the bottlers in the country are privately owned, and maybe this strategy could be implemented. It's very risky, though. It's great that Coke has been acquiring non-carbonated beverages and still beverages lately, but financially it can't continue to thrive with this strategy. By trusting the brand to sell itself, it can focus on increasing the market share of its other brands and thereby rebranding Coke as a beverage company. It can't change the price, it can't change the fact that Coke is a carbonated soda, and you can't change the Coke logo. Thank you for listening to our analysis and our ideas.